Now, for more insights into the currencies, joining us in the studio now is Jameel, Ahmad, an economist with FXTM. So, Jameel, who now determines the dollar's value? Is it the Fed that's going to decide on the rate increases? Is it Donald Trump's administration, which is very much advocating on a weaker dollar policy to gain benefits on trade? Or is it actually the U.S. trade data that by the end of the day determines the value of the currency?
Now, this is an interesting question, but I'll tell you what I think. Political risk is driving the markets, and it's something that's completely new to investors because generally, political risk used to be something you would associate with emerging market economies and developing economies. But in the past year, you've had the Brexit, Donald Trump, upcoming elections in Europe, and now political risk is seen in the developed world. You can see that investors, they are now beaten to the drum of political risk. They're starting to ignore both the macro fundamental data and also the technical opportunities, and they are moving to Trump.
Right. So now, will Asian emerging markets currencies be able to take a breather after several years of US dollar strength? Now the dollar strength is being interrupted by uncertainty from the Trump administration. I'm talking about Asian currencies, including RMB.
Sure. So basically now we start talking about the Federal Reserve, and because the Federal Reserve have an outlook and a bias towards raising interest rates at least 2 times in 2017, there's likely still to be a pressure in this region and these markets. That includes the RMB, Malaysian ringgit, Indonesian rupiah, and the Korean won. But also, part of Donald Trump's campaign promises to put America first and always protectionist policies. This is also seen a concern for this region that it might threaten job growth. So I would still see some pressure on these markets and these economies.
So there's still pressure on these markets. Yeah. Okay, so the general trend of a strengthening dollar is still there, right? So how would you like to advise investors if they are interested in dollar asset?
Well, with political risk driving the markets and based on the knowledge that investors are pressing a very heavy premium into the stock markets based on what is a lot of words but no action so far, I think that there's still a lot of potential in both gold and the Japanese yen. Because despite US stock markets reaching record highs and still staying at these levels, gold's rebounded over $100 over the past month, and the Japanese yen has regained nearly half of its value after it lost in the US election. Now remember, in the US election, it shot up from 110 to nearly 120 in just 6 weeks. It's now trading around the 112, 113. So if political risk continues to upset investors, I still believe there's potential there. You've got the Brexit and Article 50, so maybe a significantly lower pound. And let's not forget Marine Le Pen and France, upcoming elections. Although the euro is probably oversold on an economic basis, there's political risk you can't ignore, and you can see the euro is under pressure today.
Some are even thinking like finding some, say, safety havens like in Japanese yen or Swiss francs.
Yes, Swiss franc as well could be something that investors look at as a safe haven. So in times of uncertainty, we say the Japanese yen is your friend, but also the Swiss franc could be a viable option.
Okay. Thanks so much for your presence here and for your insights. That's Jameel Ahmad, economist with FXTM.